Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. I'm excited to have my friend Bobby Casey with me. Bobby, remind the audience, where are you located? And then tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me again. So my name is Bobby. I'm living in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. This is like my winter home. I'm here about half the year, but I'm here only a couple more days before I go into the mountains of Mexico in the Puebla area of Mexico. I'm going there for a few days before I go to the other coast of Mexico, Puerto Vallarta. So I am roaming a lot. I am spending. I live between three different countries, and even in addition to living between the three different places, I also travel quite a lot. Like just this year, I've got trips to. I'm doing an RV trip around in the U.S. I'm going to be in Bulgaria for a while. I'm going to be in Australia. I'm going to be in my other home in Latvia for a while. And so far, that's all I got planned out. But I think I'm probably going to be in Thailand as well towards the end of the year before I'm back in Mexico for the winter. So yeah, I move around a lot. And then my company is businessanywhere.io. We're kind of let's say like a startup toolbox. So you can do a lot of the things like the legal compliance stuff for getting your company started, registering, US based, registering your company, registered agent service, virtual mailbox, online remote notary, opening bank accounts, bookkeeping, tax filings, all of your company compliance things you need to do, like compliance wise. So yeah, that's basically our company. Our vision is we're very pro entrepreneur, and we know a lot of the things. We're pro entrepreneur, pro entrepreneurship, because we believe entrepreneurs really are kind of the economic engine of the world. We're the ones that make things happen. We're the ones that create innovation and jobs, and making stuff happen. So and because of that, we want to support the entrepreneurial people to make the boring, tedious tasks of their entrepreneurial journey easy. And so that's kind of what we do with Business Anywhere. We're a platform to like where you can do all these compliance related things and getting your company started completely online, completely just with a few keystrokes. Like you can, with us, you can do everything to register your company in like 5 minutes. Bank accounts, once your company's registered, it takes like 3 or 4 minutes to open your bank account. Like we just want to make things super easy. That way you as entrepreneurs can focus on the important things, and that's, doing what you do best.
I love it. Now, before we hit record, you and I had a great conversation about being portable. And one of my weird obsessions is I always want to have my financial life independent of my physical life, is in terms of being able to be portable. I'm fascinated by people who believe that, I was born in this city, I'll die in this city, and I'll never move. How did you get started on this journey? Because for the audience, I want to point out you technically run 3 businesses at this moment. I'll talk to you next year. You're probably at 4 because that's what we do.
God, I hope not. I hope not. I'm hoping. I'm hoping to stick with 3. If I could get rid of one, that'd be even better. I'd love to get rid of one. But I also know the way my brain works. So my hope is less. I always want to try to do less to focus on things. But that's not really the way my brain works. So to your point, yeah, I'll probably have a 4th one by next year, most likely.
It's funny. I have people who are like, that's it, I'm done. A friend of mine on his 77th birthday looked across the table at his wife and said, honey, I'm launching business number 7 tomorrow. And she's like, this better be the last one. And he said, no promises, but I'll try.
I don't even know. I don't even know how many businesses I've started. I've lost count. I mean, it's well over a dozen for sure.
Yep.
at this point. Like I don't know. Somebody asked me recently, like, what business have you started? And I listed like a few of them, and they're like, well, what about this one? I'm like, oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I completely forgot about that business. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the way it goes.
I think that's when I meet entrepreneurs, they have a problem in their own life, they find a way to solve it, and then they go, I bet others would pay me for this. And then, I tell people it's not like I sit down and say, okay, this year I'm going to launch a new business. It's usually, oh, I accidentally launched something. And then, you got to fill in the details. So,
yeah, I mean, that's how Business Anywhere got started. I mean, Business Anywhere got started out of pure laziness. It was a tool that I built because my consulting company, we do tax and company structure and asset protection consulting, and we'd registered a lot of companies for clients over the years. And a very tedious task was dealing with the renewals and annual report filings and all the little compliance things in the different states. And I got tired of it. I got tired of dealing with the hassles of keeping up with all these renewals. So I hired a developer to build a software platform to automate all of that. And then once we built it, I was like, actually, I should probably spin that off as a separate company because it works pretty well. And that was kind of how Business Anywhere got started. So I'm sorry, I cut you off before. You were going to ask me, you were asking me about the kind of the nomadic thing and how did I start, like, how did I get into it? You mean,
yeah,
how did I get into what exactly?
well, let's talk about the nomadic life first of all, because I'm sure you didn't
Okay.
wake up one day and say, "That's it, I'm leaving and I'm going to go travel the world and be." I see you as a bit of a tumbleweed in a good way. Um, I think a lot of our people wish they could, but a lot of them look at their business and say, "Well, I can't leave my precious business." So, how is it that you, Bobby, are running three businesses, traveling around the world, and you more or less have three home bases? So you're not tied to that one little bricks and mortar location in one small town, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So actually, it kind of was a let's just go. But I think it stems back. So I mentioned before before we were recording, I was raised in a family where leaving your hometown was a bad idea. Like you were kind of kicked out of the family, so to speak, if you ventured too far away. Like I'm the only person out of a very large family who lives more than 3 hours away from the hometown. So that was always considered like a bad thing. So I was raised in this very narrow focus, like we're gonna have Sunday lunch with the whole family together after church every Sunday kind of thing. Like that's what we did. And when I was 12 years old, I had, I guess that would be seventh grade, I think, I think it was seventh grade. And when I was 12 years old, I had a social studies teacher who was really adamant about like traveling and seeing the world and learning different cultures and languages and stuff like that. And so she organized a field trip for the class over spring break. So, optional thing. You obviously didn't have to go, but it was optional spring break field trip. And a bunch of us went, and I was instantly, I'm like, I want to go. So the field trip, we went to Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And it was like wrapping the weekend. So roughly a 10-day field trip over
Yeah.
spring break. And as soon as she said it, I was like, I want to go 100%. I went to my parents. I want to go on this thing. So I ended up going on this thing, and I just got like fascinated with seeing other cultures and how other people lived in different lifestyles and all that. And so I don't know, the travel bug hit me hard when I was 12 years old. When I was 16, my dad, I like to ski, winter skiing, snow skiing. And I like to ski, and we would always do at least like one bigger ski trip in the wintertime. And I convinced my dad, hey, why don't we go to Austria? I like did some research. Why don't we go to Austria on this ski trip? My dad had never been out of the country. Well, actually, he had been out. When I was 12, he was out of the country because he went as a chaperone because he didn't want to let me go by myself. But so I convinced my dad when I was 16, let's go on the ski trip to Austria. So me and him and my brother-in-law and a friend of mine went skiing in Austria, and we just explored around. Austria, Italy, and Germany on that trip, and I just loved it. And so over the years, I just traveled. I like to travel. I've been to a lot of different places, some kind of unique places also. Like I've been in the far east side of Russia, in Siberia. I've been in like some tiny, like a friend of mine had a big piece of property in eastern Russia, and he would invite some friends, Russian guy, and he would invite some friends every year for like adventure trips. Like we would go, like in the wintertime, we would go like hunting and snowmobiling, horseback riding, ice fishing, stuff like that. And, I went on that trip a few times and people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going there. Even Russian people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going there. Like, this is the kind of place, like we went snowmobiling one time. I know this is way off subject, but we went snowmobiling one day and we actually broke through the ice and we snowmobiled over this river, and there happened to be a hot spring running there, but you couldn't see it because it's covered in snow. So the ice was really thin, and we broke through and we got wet up to almost our waist. We made it across. We didn't go all the way in, but we were down in the water and it's splashing up. And it was minus 40 that day. And so we stopped. We had to stop and start a fire. I mean, we're not in the middle of nowhere. This is the edge of nowhere. You can see nowhere from there. Like it's absolute nowhere. And the guy I was with, Sergey, and we were with some other guys too, but I think it was 4 of us. And he's like, we got to stop and start a fire to heat up, because if we don't, we're going to get frostbite. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, what happens like if we need like to call like medical attention or something? And he just looked at me and he laughed. He's like, he said, look, we're in a place that if we call for medical attention, we're already dead by the time they get here, because like this is not, we're not like in the countryside outside of the city. Like the nearest city is like hours away by plane.
There's no backup or support.
There's zero support. Yeah. So I went to some like crazy places over the years. Like I remember like sitting in a Mongolian yurt one time having like stew, thinking, I just remember sitting there in this yurt thinking, how did I end up here? From like where I was raised, how did I end up like wearing these furs in a Mongolian yurt? Like it was such a weird thing. Just I had a surreal moment, like, whoa, how did I end up in this place? Yeah. So like I've always had this travel bug. I've always had this thing, like I want to explore, to see more, to do more. Like I'm very much like I extremely bored really quickly. I get really bored really quickly. And so I always have to push myself to do more things, see more, do more, travel more, stuff like that. So it was kind of it was always there, but it was opened up when I was 12 years old. In my 20s, I had a business that was, you could call it kind of a brick and mortar business. It was a service company. We did installation service all across the US, but I did have an office. But even then, like I didn't even go to my office. I had an office in my house, or I would travel for work, like do sales calls, and I would work from hotel rooms and stuff like that. And like the joke was, like I had an office with like 20 employees, and I would, it was always kind of a joke with them. Like I would show up at the office and the receptionist would be like, hi, how can I help you? Like pretending like they didn't know me because I never went in. My dad was kind of this old school guy that, growing up, he had a construction company, and he went to the office every morning at 7:30 in a suit and tie kind of thing. And when I started that company in my 20s, he had just retired. And after a couple of years, like the company grew pretty quickly. So I hired him to be my CFO and controller. So he used to go to the office every day, and he would call me in the morning, like, "Hey, Bobby, are you ever going to come into work? Like, do you even work anymore?" And I'm like, "Dad, I'm working right now. I've been working all morning." And he goes, "You can't. I just walked by your office. You're not in there." I'm like, "Dad, you don't have to be in the office to work. That's not, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, we have computers now, Dad." And he's like, "Yeah, you can't work if you're not here, though." I'm like, "Yeah, I can." So, like, I was raised in that mindset, but I never adapted to going to an office. And like, I had that company, I sold it in my 30s, and I had this moment where I was like, I just, I want certain things in my life. Actually, like, I had a couple of big defining moments, and one of them was, I almost died in a motorcycle crash. I raced motorcycles for like 20 years, so that's another thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever ridden motorcycles, but when you ride motorcycles, everything happens so quickly. Your brain is like processing information at light speed, and a lot of information, because you're trying to not die when you're riding motorcycles all the time. And just, I almost died on a motorcycle. I had a pretty big crash. I was in a coma for like a week, and and you hear the story a lot. Like, people, like, I had this near death experience. I wanted to change my life and live a different way and all that stuff. And I kind of had the same thing, kind of a stereotypical thing. I had that experience. And one of the things that happened to me was I sat down and realized I didn't really want to keep living that way. Like, I didn't like the business I was in. I was bored out of my mind with everything. I didn't like the business, the customers. I didn't like my employees. I didn't like anything about it. And I realized what I ended up doing is I took a week-long RV trip, just me. I had an RV. I went down to the beach, Outer Banks, North Carolina, and I camped there on the beach for about a week, and journaled and wrote down, like, reflecting on things and what I wanted. And one of the things I reflected on is I wanted a business working with clients I enjoyed spending time with. So I narrowed down to, I really like working with entrepreneurs, because that's what I like.
Yeah.
So I wanted a business where entrepreneurs were my customers exclusively. And then I wanted a business that allowed me to work from anywhere, but not only me, but also I didn't want to have an office at all. So if I had employees, they could also work from home or from wherever they wanted to work from. And so that's kind of how I built the next couple of companies.
I love that freedom piece. And I think, I'm laughing here, in Alberta. Finally, they're doing mandated return to the office, and it's like,
good luck, bro.
yeah. The funny thing is, when we first went into lockdown in 2020, nobody wanted to work from home. And now people are like, "But I don't want to go to the office." They've seen the other side of it.
Yeah.
And I was inspired by Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. And just imagine how revolutionary that was when it came out. He was talking about being portable and working from wherever you are. So let's talk about what's enabled you to live the lifestyle you have and run the three businesses that you do. What's the defining feature of that?
Like, you mean how did that come to be?
Yeah, and how do you maintain it? Because I'm going to guess there's a couple of things that are critical. I'm going to guess you have systems and processes in place, and I'm going to guess you've got a good team. But for those listening who are stuck in their office right now, how can they break free and start to live a little more on the edges, if that makes sense?
So I like that you brought up 4 Hour Work Week. 4 Hour Work Week was written in 2007, so almost 20 years ago, and that was kind of like the Bible for digital nomads for a
Yeah.
while, right? I mean, that was the digital nomad Bible for a while, and I read it. I think I've probably read it 3 times at this point. I read the most recent, like there's an updated version came out a couple of years ago. I've read that. They got more like modern examples than from 20 years ago. Um, and I mean, he was definitely a bit of a pioneer in that time. It's funny, he used to call it geo arbitrage. Now we call it digital nomadism. I used to call it digital or geo arbitrage also, and then I read his book, and I'm like, huh, he calls it geo arbitrage also. So I wonder like where that term came from. Like I don't know, maybe he coined the term, and somewhere in my subconscious I heard it somewhere. Um, or the other way around, maybe I coined the term, or somebody else coined the term and he
Yeah.
heard it and put it in the book. I don't know. But regardless, like I like that term too, geo arbitrage. But digital nomad became kind of the go-to term now. Um, and so if you rewind back more than 20 years, let's say 25, 30 years, living this life as a small business owner or a freelancer, it was not easy. It was a very difficult thing because we didn't have the technology tools in place to make that happen.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, Skype was invented. You had these Estonian guys created this platform called Skype, and it was pretty revolutionary at the time. I mean, what we're using right now is like the grandchild of Skype, you could
Yeah.
say, right? I mean, like Google Meet and Zoom and all these things, they wouldn't have existed if Skype didn't show up first.
Yeah.
And I remember like back 20-ish years ago, I went to Russia one time for a couple weeks, and I came home and my cell phone bill was, I don't even remember now. It was several $1,000s, right?
Yeah.
And and that was back in the day. Like you could use your cell phone abroad, but it was like whatever, $9 or $10 a minute or something if you
Yeah.
used it in certain countries. And that's just not sustainable for a small business person. Like you can't consistently have a $4,000 a month cell phone bill. Like it's
Yeah.
you can't do it. Like it's just not affordable. It's crazy. And then Skype popped up, and people are like, actually, I can do this. I can talk to my customers. I can go live on the beach in Thailand and talk to my customers as long as I have internet. I can get on calls or even video calls on Skype with my customers as long as we both download Skype. And so that opened up the world of cheaper communication and giving you the ability to travel, because any business, I don't care what kind of business you're in, you have to talk to your customers, right? And so pre-Skype, it wasn't very conducive to small or mid-sized businesses. Sure, if you worked for a huge billion-dollar company, you can travel and submit your expense report for your $4,000 cell phone, and you don't care. But when you're the one that pays that bill, you're like, whoa, like I can't be paying $4,000 a month for a cell phone bill as a small business owner. Like I'm only bringing in $8,000 a month. How can I pay half of it just for my cell phone bill? So I think Skype was a big catalyst there that kicked off that technology boom of remote first technologies. And we use all that stuff now. I mean, we use Google Meet every day. We do our group calls, client calls, sales calls, everything we do on Google Meet. We use Slack. Slack is really good for what we call asynchronous communication. Like for us, because we have team members like all over the world. I got multiple people in different states in the U.S., different time zones. Got people in Mexico. Got people in India and Bangladesh. I got people in Pakistan. I got people in Ukraine, Latvia, Portugal. Like So we can't just like, hey, every morning, let's get together on our morning call at 8 o'clock and do like our morning huddle,
Yeah.
like Vern Harnish called it, I guess, your morning huddle. We couldn't do that. So like you just some of us are 10, 12-hour time zones apart from each other. It doesn't, you can't do that. Like we
Yeah.
do have group company calls once in a while, but man, it's not the easiest thing to organize to get everyone on there. We have to plan it like 2-3 weeks in advance to have like a group company call. But yeah, Slack. I mean, we use things like ClickUp for project management. We have a lot of our own internal tools that we built because we're effectively a software company. We build a lot of our own stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. What other? My God, we use Google Workspace. We use a lot of the Google Workspace tools. Obviously, like everyone else on the planet with an IQ over 80, we're using AI tools for everything now. Like, I don't know. It blows my mind when I talk to some of my friends and they're like, yeah, we don't use any AI in our business. I'm like, how are you still in business? Like, how are you like still even in business if you're not using AI tools now? Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at like my tool stack here in my toolbar. My God, there's so many things we use, like so many different software tools we use that are all like remote first type tools. Like I built Business Anywhere exactly to be a remote company. Like it was never from day one, it was planned we were never going to have a brick and mortar office ever.
Yeah.
Like I built it in such a way that I, as the founder, could live and work from anywhere I want. But I also built it so that my team could also work from home. You mentioned earlier on the call, like we'll leave the terms out, but roughly 90% of people don't have this need to explore like I do and other people like me, but which is fine, but still like, and you mentioned just a few minutes ago that people don't want to go back to the office anymore either, right? Because the cat's out of the bag, man. Like people don't want to go commute an hour to work each way twice a day and go to meetings that have no impact whatsoever. That's just a waste of time and sit around and bullshit by the coffee machine. Like people don't want to waste their time like that. Like it's not that productive. Like somebody asked me recently, like, how do you make sure your people stay productive when you're not sitting there telling them what to do every day? And I'm like, well, I look at it like this. If I hire good people, they're going to be good in an office environment, and they're also going to be good self-motivated. They're going to they're going to be autonomous. The good hires are going to be good in the office and also not in the office. It's the bad hires that only work well under direct supervision. So if you're a remote only company and you hire somebody that's a bad hire, they filter themselves out really, really quickly. Like
they're not going to be able to keep up.
They can't. Yeah, they won't get their work done, and like they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to get their work done. They're not going to be available. Like they're going to be lazy. Whereas really quickly if they're good because everything gets done and they're efficient, and you got customers going, hey, I really like that person in your company. Let me give you a review, stuff like that. So people are like, how do you keep them motivated? Well, I don't keep them motivated. I just don't. I hire people who are already good, like that have the right mindset. Like I can't train mindset. I can train any task, but I can't train a mindset. So we just hire people with the right mindset, or we try to. I mean, of course, we fired people who suck too, just like everyone else. But in a remote only team, they filter out quickly though.
They're not going to last. And Chet Holmes talks about hiring rock stars. Now, Bobby, I hate to say it, but we're at the top of the hour, and I do have to say thank you for being on the show. We will have you back again, and I think we're going to get some questions from people about how you do what you do, because You're a case study in mobility that I think my audience really needs to study because, people complain about the cost of living and working in San Francisco. Go digital.
Exactly. Like I was saying before, like these people are like commuting an hour to work each day at like,
Yeah.
and you've got somebody who's like, hey, I actually work from home now. I get more done. I work in my pajamas and I have an hour and a half lunch with my kid at school. Like, why would you not want to keep living like that? Like
Yeah.
I like going to hang out with my kid at school for an hour and a half for lunch, and I like
Well,
not commuting 2 hours a day. So how do you get people to want to come back to work? Like I've had friends that have had like remote jobs that went remote during COVID, and like you said, their companies are like trying to get them to come back. And I've had friends be like, "Nah, fire me. Like I'll just find somebody else." Because now you got all these other companies. Now it's a competitive thing. So the companies are like, "Hey, look over here. We'll hire you to be remote. Yeah, come work for us." And now this other company's like, "Hey, come back in the office," and your worker's going, yeah, I'm going to go to this remote company. So,
Bobby, I truly adore meeting you. You are such a fabulous guy. Thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, I don't know what we got done today. Hopefully somebody got something out of this, but yeah, thanks for having me.